Minwoo, baby, did you pack your dinosaur pajamas? I kept my voice steady, even though my hands were shaking as I zipped up his little backpack. The blue one with the rocket ships. The one Do-hyun had bought 3 years ago, back when we still pretended we could be a family. Yama, will Appa remember I don't like cucumbers? My son's voice was so small, so hopeful. I crouched down and smoothed his hair, the same jet black as his father's. He'll remember, sweetheart. Liar, I thought. You don't even know what he remembers anymore. The parking lot of the family court building was nearly empty at 5 in the evening. Golden autumn light slanted across the asphalt, making everything look softer than it was. I held Minwoo's hand as we walked toward the designated meeting spot, a painted yellow line between two parking spaces, like that could somehow divide our lives cleanly. Then I saw him. Kong Do-hyun stood beside a black sedan, hands in the pockets of his tailored coat, looking like he'd stepped out of a corporate magazine. Tall, broad-shouldered, devastatingly composed. 3 years, and he'd only gotten sharper. More untouchable. Everything about him still made my chest hurt. Appa! Minwoo's hand slipped from mine before I could react. He ran across the parking lot, backpack bouncing, and Do-hyun caught him like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like he'd been doing it every day. Like he hadn't missed the first 4 years of our son's life because his family decided I wasn't good enough. I watched Do-hyun lift Minwoo into his arms, watched our son wrap small hands around his father's neck, and something inside me cracked open. Do-hyun's eyes found mine over Minwoo's shoulder. Dark. Searching. I looked away first. Jaemin. His voice was exactly the same. Deep and careful, like he was always measuring his words. I forced myself to walk forward, each step feeling like I was walking toward a cliff edge. Do-hyun. I kept my tone neutral. Professional. He needs to be back by 6 p.m. on Sunday. He has art class Monday morning. I remember. And he's been having nightmares lately, so I'll take care of him. The certainty in his voice made my jaw tighten. You don't get to sound that sure, I wanted to say. You don't get to waltz back in and act like you know him. But I bit my tongue. For Minwoo's sake. Do-hyun set our son down gently, then reached for the backpack I was holding. Our fingers brushed, barely a second of contact, and my breath caught. His scent hit me like a wave. Cedarwood and something crisp, something that used to mean home before it meant heartbreak. He froze too. I saw his pupils dilate, saw the way his throat worked as he swallowed. You still smell like home, he whispered. The words were so quiet I almost thought I'd imagined them. But then his hand closed around mine, warm, firm, possessive in a way that made my omega instincts flare despite every rational thought screaming at me to pull away. I yanked my hand back. Don't. One word. That's all I could manage. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he'd hear it. Do-hyun's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe. Or resignation. Minwoo, say goodbye to Yama, he said softly. My son hugged me tight, and I buried my face in his hair, breathing him in. Be good, okay? I love you. Love you too, Yama. I stood there in that parking lot long after the black sedan pulled away, until the sun dipped low enough that the air turned cold. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I didn't look at it. I just stood there, trying to remember how to breathe normally again. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Starry-Eyed Lovers, and tell me where you're watching from. The apartment felt too quiet without Minwoo. I made myself dinner, instant ramen, the cheap kind, and ate it standing at the kitchen counter because sitting at the table meant staring at his empty chair. The TV played some drama I wasn't watching. Outside, the city hummed with Friday night energy, but inside these 4 walls, everything felt hollow. My phone buzzed again. I'd been ignoring it all evening, but curiosity finally won. I unlocked the screen. Unknown number. Minwoo asked why you look sad when you smile. I didn't know how to answer him. My chest constricted. I knew that number. I deleted it 3 years ago, but I still knew it. I stared at the message for a full minute, fingers hovering over the keyboard. What was I supposed to say? Because you broke me? Because every time I look at our son, I see the life we could have had? I locked my phone and set it face down on the counter. But the words kept echoing in my head. Why you look sad when you smile? Out of the mouths of children. Minwoo saw everything, understood more than I gave him credit for. The truth was, I'd been asking myself the same question for 3 years. I picked up my phone again. He's perceptive. 3 dots appeared immediately. He was waiting for me to respond. Do-hyun, he gets that from you. Something twisted in my stomach. I remembered the way Do-hyun used to look at me, back when we first bonded. Like I was the only person in the world who mattered. Before his father found out. Before the threat started. Before he made his choice. Don't do this. Do-hyun, do what? Me, pretend like we're friends. Like this is normal. The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times before his response came through. Do-hyun, I'm not pretending anything. I just want you to know he's safe. I almost threw my phone across the room. Safe. He wanted me to know our son was safe. As if I'd ever doubted that. As if the problem was ever about Do-hyun's ability to protect Minwoo. The problem was that he'd chosen his family's empire over us. I typed and deleted 5 different responses before settling on. Me, thank you. I didn't sleep that night. I kept reaching for Minwoo in the bed beside me, forgetting he wasn't there. Every creak of the old building made me jolt awake. By dawn, I'd given up entirely and sat by the window with cold coffee, watching the sun rise over Seoul's endless skyline. My phone buzzed at 7 a.m. A photo. Minwoo in dinosaur pajamas, grinning at the camera with a waffle covered in too much syrup. The message below read, "He says to tell you the waffles are almost as good as yours." I smiled despite myself. Then I noticed the background of the photo, a kitchen I didn't recognize. Marble countertops, designer appliances, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Do-hyun's penthouse, probably. The one his family bought him when he took over as CFO. The one that could have been ours. I set my phone down and pressed my palms against my eyes, willing myself not to cry. Saturday crawled by. Sunday was worse. I cleaned the apartment twice, reorganized Minwoo's bookshelf, and made 3 different batches of banchan I didn't have the appetite to eat. By 5 p.m., I was parked outside the family court building again, 30 minutes early, watching the clock on my dashboard tick forward with agonizing slowness. Do-hyun's sedan pulled up at 5:58 p.m. Minwoo burst out of the back seat and ran to me, chattering about the aquarium they'd visited, the pizza they'd made from scratch, the movie they'd watched. I held him and nodded and made all the right sounds, but my attention kept drifting to Do-hyun. He looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there on Friday. "Thank you for bringing him back on time," I said stiffly. "Of course." Do-hyun hesitated, then pulled something from his coat pocket. An envelope. This fell out of his backpack. "I thought you should have it." I took it, frowning. It was sealed, cream-colored paper, expensive. The kind of stationery the Kong family used for official correspondence. "What is it?" "I don't know. It was already sealed when I found it." Something about his tone made my stomach drop. I looked down at the envelope, at the embossed logo in the corner, Kong Medical Laboratory, and felt the world tilt. Do-hyun's hand shot out, steadying me. "Jaemin, don't touch me." I pulled away, clutching the envelope in Minwoo's hand. My son looked between us, confused, worried. "Yama, are you okay?" "I'm fine, baby. Let's go home." I didn't look back as we walked to my car. But I felt Do-hyun's eyes on me the entire time, burning into my spine like a brand I could never quite erase. That night, after Minwoo fell asleep, I opened the envelope. Inside was a DNA test. Official, detailed, and stamped with approval from Kong Enterprises' legal department. Someone was trying to prove my son didn't deserve to exist. And I had 48 hours to figure out who. "Yama, why does Apple look sad every time you leave?" Minwoo's question came out of nowhere on Thursday morning, right in the middle of brushing his teeth. I froze with his lunchbox half-packed, a triangle kimbap suspended in my hand. "What makes you think he looks sad, baby?" His eyes get all droopy, like when I have to leave the playground. He spit into the sink, then looked up at me with those impossibly perceptive eyes. "Does Appa not want me to go home?" "No, I wanted to say. Asterisk, he doesn't want either of us to leave. That's always been the problem. Appa loves spending time with you," I said instead, dodging the real question. "Now finish up, or you'll be late for school." But the question haunted me all day. I couldn't focus on the illustrations I was supposed to be finishing for a children's book commission. Every time I put pen to tablet, all I could see was Do-hyun's face in that parking lot. The way he'd looked at me like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. My phone buzzed. "Do-hyun, Minwoo left his art supplies at my place. I can drop them by after work if that's okay." I stared at the message. The old Do-hyun would have just sent them with a courier. The old Do-hyun wouldn't have asked permission for anything. "Me, I'll pick them up. Send me the address." 3 dots. Then nothing. Then finally, "Do-hyun, I'll be home by 7. I'll leave them with the concierge if you'd prefer not to come up." Me, the concierge is fine. I arrived at his building at 7:15, deliberately late. The lobby was all glass and marble, the kind of place where the doorman wore a better suit than most people owned. I gave my name and waited, expecting a bag to materialize. Instead, the concierge's desk phone rang. "Mr. Kong says to send you up. Penthouse level." "That won't be necessary." "He insists, Mr. Seo." The private elevator is just there. I wanted to argue, but the concierge was already gesturing to a separate elevator with a gold-trimmed door. Fighting would only make a scene. So I stepped inside, watched the numbers climb, and tried to ignore the way my pulse was racing. The elevator opened directly into Doohyun's apartment. He was standing in the kitchen, still in his work shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and the sight of him in this domestic space made something in my chest constrict. He looked up when I entered, and for a second neither of us moved. The concierge said, "I know what I told him." Doohyun set down the knife he'd been using to slice vegetables. "Minwoo supplies are in the living room, but I thought you might want coffee first. Caramel macchiato. Extra shot, no whip." My breath caught. "You remember." I remember everything, Jaemin. The way he said my name, low and careful, like it was something precious he was afraid to break, made my throat tight. I should have grabbed the bag and left. Instead, I found myself saying, "Okay, coffee." He moved around the kitchen with quiet efficiency, and I tried not to notice how familiar it all felt. How many nights had we spent like this 3 years ago? Him cooking, me sketching at the counter, talking about nothing and everything. "How long have you been in this place?" I asked just to fill the silence. 2 years. After I made CFO. It's nice. Understatement. The view alone probably cost more than I'd make in a decade. It's empty. He slid the coffee across the counter to me. I bought it thinking it doesn't matter. But I knew what he'd been about to say. I bought it thinking I'd fill it with you and Minwoo. I took a sip. Perfect, exactly how I liked it. Of course it was. "Doohyun, why did you really ask me up here?" He leaned against the counter, and I saw the exhaustion in his face. Not just physical tiredness, something deeper. Soul deep. Because I need to tell you something, and I'm a coward who needed the excuse. My stomach dropped. "Is Minwoo okay?" "Minwoo is fine. This is about the DNA test." I set my coffee down too hard, liquid sloshing over the rim. "You knew about it." "Not until you received it. But I know who ordered it." He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the careful styling. "My father has been monitoring Minwoo since I filed for custody. He's looking for any reason to." "To what? Take him from me?" "To take him from both of us." The words hung in the air like a threat. Doohyun moved around the counter, stopping just close enough that I could smell his scent. Stronger now, protective, an alpha responding to an omega's distress without conscious thought. 3 years ago, he said quietly, when my father found out about you, about the pregnancy, he gave me an ultimatum. Leave you both, or he'd use his connections to have Minwoo taken the moment he was born. He'd bond me to someone appropriate, and make sure you never saw our son again. Would you risk everything for the person who destroyed you? Subscribe to Starry-Eyed Lovers, and comment where you're watching from. I couldn't breathe. You never told me. I was trying to protect you. By making me think you didn't want us? My voice cracked. By letting me believe I wasn't good enough? I know. He looked away, jaw tight. I made the wrong choice. I thought if you left hating me, you'd stay away. Stay safe. I didn't realize he'd wait this long to make his move. I wanted to scream at him. Wanted to rage about all the nights I'd spent alone and terrified. All the times Minwoo had asked about his father, and I'd had to lie. But underneath the anger was something more dangerous. Understanding, and the beginning of forgiveness. Why custody? I asked instead. Why now? Because it's the only legal protection I can give you. If I have partial custody, my father can't claim you're an unfit parent. He can't just take Minwoo without going through me first. Doohyun finally met my eyes. I'm trying to keep you both safe, Jaemin. Even if you never forgive me. The apartment suddenly felt too small. Too intimate. I grabbed my coffee and moved to the living room, needing distance. The art supplies were sitting on the couch, neatly packed, but I barely saw them. Does he know where we live? Yes. Does he know about Minwoo's school? His schedule? Yes. Each answer was a nail in a coffin I didn't want to think about. I sank onto the couch, coffee forgotten. Doohyun followed but kept his distance, sitting in the chair across from me. I have security monitoring your building. Discreetly. And I've had background checks run on everyone at Minwoo's school. You're safe. He's safe. You've been watching us. Protecting you. There's a difference. Is there? I looked at him then, really looked. Saw the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. What did this cost you, Doohyun? Defying your father? Nothing I wasn't willing to lose. Something in his voice made my chest ache. Before I could stop myself, I asked, would you really have let us go? 3 years ago, if there hadn't been threats, would you have kept us? I would have burned the entire company to the ground before I let you walk out that door. His voice was rough, raw. But I was 25 and terrified, and I believed my father when he said he could destroy you. I made the wrong choice. I've spent 3 years living with that. The silence stretched between us, heavy with everything we weren't saying. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor. Your apartment building's heat is out again. Management says it won't be fixed until tomorrow. I closed my eyes. Of course. Because this day wasn't complicated enough already. What's wrong? Building maintenance issue. It's fine. Do-hyun's expression sharpened. How long has your heating been unreliable? It's an old building, Do-hyun. These things happen. How long? I sighed. Since last winter. But it's affordable and close to Minwoo's school, so I fixed it. I stared at him. What? 2 weeks ago. I had an HVAC specialist check your building's system and replace the failing components. He said it so matter-of-factly, like breaking into my life without permission was perfectly reasonable. It should be working now. Your neighbor must be mistaken. You had no right. I had every right. You're living in a building that can't keep my son warm. His alpha tone crept in, protective and possessive. Then he seemed to catch himself, voice softening. I'm sorry. I should have asked. But I couldn't stand the thought of you and Minwoo freezing because I wasn't there to fix it. I should have been angry. Should have thrown the coffee in his face and stormed out. Instead, all I could think was how tired I was of being strong, of handling everything alone, of pretending I didn't miss this. Someone caring, someone noticing, someone fixing the broken things because they wanted to, not because they had to. You can't just insert yourself into our lives because you feel guilty, I said, but the protest sounded weak even to my own ears. This isn't guilt. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. This is me trying to be what I should have been 3 years ago. Even if all you ever let me be is Minwoo's father, I'll take it. But don't ask me to stop caring, Jaemin. I couldn't if I tried. My phone buzzed again before I could respond. Different neighbor. Asterisk never mind, heat just kicked on. Feels like new. Lucky us, asterisk. I showed Do-hyun the text without thinking. His expression softened into something almost hopeful. I should go, I said, standing abruptly. It's late. Do-hyun walked me to the elevator, carrying Minwoo's art supplies. In the enclosed space, his scent wrapped around me, protective, familiar, dangerous. The doors opened, and I stepped inside, turning to take the bag from him. Our fingers brushed. Again. And this time, neither of us pulled away immediately. Thank you, I said, for telling me about your father. For everything. Jaemin. His hand tightened around mine, just for a second. If anything feels wrong, if anyone approaches you or Minwoo, call me immediately. Promise me. I promise. The elevator doors began to close. Do-hyun's hand shot out, stopping them. One more thing. Next Friday is Parents' Day at Minwoo's school. He asked if I could come. A pause. Would that be okay? I thought about my son's question that morning. Why does Appa look sad every time you leave? Thought about the DNA test and threats I didn't fully understand yet. Thought about how complicated it was to hate someone who was trying to protect you. Okay, I heard myself say. But we need boundaries, Do-hyun. Clear ones. Whatever you need. The doors closed, and I watched him disappear as the elevator descended. My hand still tingled where he'd touched it. That night, I couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't the empty bed or worry about Minwoo keeping me awake. It was the memory of Do-hyun's voice saying I remember everything like it was a confession. Like remembering was the only thing keeping him alive. I pulled out my phone, scrolling back through 3 years of deleted messages I'd never quite managed to erase from the cloud. Found the last one he'd sent the night I left. I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better than this. Better than me. I'd never responded. Had blocked his number before I could change my mind. Now I typed out a new message. Me. Minwoo wants to know if you'll teach him to ride a bike. He's been asking. The response came 90 seconds later. Do-hyun, I'd be honored. This Saturday? Me Saturday. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling, wondering what I was doing. Wondering if letting him back in, even just for Minwoo, was the bravest or most foolish thing I'd ever done. Outside my window, Seoul hummed with midnight traffic. And somewhere across the city, in a penthouse that was too big and too empty, I imagined Do-hyun was staring at his phone too, holding on to the fragile thread of connection we'd just rebuilt. My Omega instincts whispered that this was dangerous. That letting an alpha back into your life after heartbreak was asking to be destroyed all over again. But maybe, just maybe, destruction wasn't the only possible ending. Appa, you're going too fast. Minwoo's laughter echoed through the park as Do-hyun jogged beside the wobbling bicycle, one hand steady on the seat. Saturday afternoon sun filtered through the cherry trees, casting dappled shadows across the path. I sat on a nearby bench, sketchbook forgotten in my lap, watching them. Do-hyun slowed his pace. Better. Better. Yama, look. I'm doing it. I see, baby. You're doing great. But I wasn't really watching Minwoo. I was watching Do-hyun, the careful way he gauged our son's balance, the patience in his voice, the smile that reached his eyes for the first time in years. This was the alpha I'd fallen in love with. The one who'd existed before corporate pressure and family expectations had carved away everything soft. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Your son is beautiful. It would be a shame if he grew up in such humble circumstances. Ice flooded my veins. I stood so fast my sketchbook tumbled to the ground. My eyes scanned the park, families, couples, an old man feeding pigeons. No one looked threatening. No one was watching us. Another buzz. Unknown number. The Kong family takes care of its own. Even the imperfect ones. Jaemin. Do-hyun was suddenly there, Minwoo's bike abandoned on the path. His hand touched my elbow and I flinched, nearly dropping my phone. What's wrong? You're shaking. I showed him the messages without thinking. Watched his expression transform from concern to fury in seconds. His scent spiked, aggressive, protective, pure alpha dominance that made my omega instincts curl up in confused terror and desire. Minwoo, stay right there, Do-hyun called out, voice controlled despite the rage in his eyes. Then to me, quieter. We need to leave. Now. Do-hyun. They're watching us. I need to get you both somewhere safe. He didn't wait for agreement. Just scooped up Minwoo's bike with one hand and guided us toward the parking lot with the other. Our son complained about leaving early, oblivious to the tension crackling between his parents. 20 minutes later, we were back in Do-hyun's penthouse. Minwoo was settled in front of the TV with snacks, and Do-hyun had made 3 phone calls in rapid succession, each one clipped and commanding. When he finally hung up, his jaw was tight enough to crack. My head of security is tracing the number, but we both know who sent those texts. I was pacing, unable to sit still. Your father, or someone working for him. Same thing. Do-hyun moved to pour himself a drink, then seemed to think better of it. I should have anticipated this. The DNA test was just the opening move. What does he want? Control. He always wants control. Do-hyun's laugh was bitter. But this time, he's overplayed his hand. Threatening you directly gives me legal recourse. Legal recourse? I stopped pacing, staring at him. Do-hyun, he just threatened our son. I don't care about legal recourse. I care about keeping Minwoo safe. Which is exactly what I'm trying to do. He crossed to me, stopping just close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Trust. Such a simple word for such an impossible ask. I don't know, I admitted. You're asking me to trust the same person who walked away 3 years ago. I'm asking you to trust the person who's standing here now. His voice dropped lower. The one who's spent 3 years building enough power to protect you. The one who's willing to lose everything, again, if it means keeping you and Minwoo safe. Something in my chest cracked. Why? Why go through all of this? You could have just moved on. Found someone your family approved of. Had the perfect alpha life. Because I tried. The confession came out raw. I tried to forget you. Tried to convince myself it was better this way. Lasted exactly 6 months before I realized I was dying from the inside out. You want to know why I'm doing this? He stepped closer, and I could feel the heat radiating off him. Because a life without you and Minwoo isn't a life. It's just existence. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. His scent was everywhere, triggering memories my body had tried so hard to forget. Lazy Sunday mornings, whispered promises, the feeling of being utterly, completely wanted. Do-hyun, you don't have to say anything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But please, his hand lifted, hesitated, then gently cupped my cheek. Please let me protect you this time. Let me do what I should have done 3 years ago. The touch was everything. Too much and not enough. My eyes burned with tears I refused to let fall. What if your father doesn't stop? What if legal recourse isn't enough? Then I'll handle it another way. Something dangerous flickered in his expression. My father has forgotten that I learned everything I know from him, including how to destroy someone completely. A crash from the living room made us both jump apart. Minwoo had knocked over his juice box, and suddenly we were just 2 co-parents dealing with a minor disaster, the charged moment broken. But as I helped clean up the spill, I felt Do-hyun's eyes on me. Felt the weight of what he'd just confessed settling into my bones. Have you ever had to trust someone who broke you? Share your story, and tell us where you're watching from. We stayed for dinner. It felt safer somehow, being in Do-hyun's fortress of glass and steel. He ordered Thai food, Minwoo's favorite, and we sat around his massive dining table like a real family. Our son chattered about school and friends and the bike riding, and for brief moments, I could almost pretend the threats didn't exist. After Minwoo fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from the day's excitement, Do-hyun carried him to the guest room. I followed, watching him tuck our son in with such tenderness that my throat went tight. "He looks like you when he sleeps," Do-hyun murmured, brushing Minwoo's hair back. Same little furrow between his eyebrows. "He has your stubbornness." Poor kid. A ghost of a smile. Doomed from both sides. We stood there in the doorway, shoulders nearly touching, watching our son breathe. The domestic intimacy of it was almost painful. "I should get him home," I said, not moving. "Stay." One word. But the way Do-hyun said it, quiet and desperate, made it sound like a prayer. "Do-hyun, just for tonight. Please. I have a security system here. Cameras. A panic room if it comes to that." He finally looked at me. "I can't protect you if you leave. We can't keep running to you every time something goes wrong." "Why not?" The question hung between us, weighted with everything we weren't saying. Asterisk, why not let me back in? Why not give us another chance? Why not admit you still feel something? Asterisk. "Because it's not that simple," I said instead. "We have history. Pain. You can't just fix that with Thai food and a guest room." "I know." Do-hyun's hand found mine in the darkness, fingers threading through carefully. "But maybe we could start with one night. One night where I know you're both safe. Where I don't spend every second terrified that my father's made his move and I'm too far away to stop it." His hand was warm. Solid. Everything I'd missed for 3 years. "Okay," I heard myself whisper. "One night." The relief in his expression almost broke me. We moved to the living room, careful not to wake Minwoo. Do-hyun poured wine, expensive, red, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly rent. We sat on opposite ends of his designer couch, a careful distance maintained. "Tell me about the last 3 years," Do-hyun said quietly. "Minwoo's first steps. His first words. Everything I missed." So I did. Told him about the terrifying early months, learning to be a single parent while pregnant and alone. About Minwoo's first smile, his obsession with dinosaurs, the way he hummed when he colored. Do-hyun listened like I was describing the secrets of the universe, absorbing every detail. "His first word was Iyama," I said, smiling at the memory. "But his second was Appa. Even when you weren't there, he knew. Somehow he knew." Do-hyun's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry I wasn't there." "I know. Do you?" He set his wine down, turning to face me fully. "Do you know that not a day went by when I didn't think about you? When I didn't wonder if you were okay, if the baby was healthy, if you hated me as much as I hated myself." "Stop." My voice cracked. "You don't get to make this about your pain. You chose to leave." "I chose wrong." He moved closer, and I should have retreated but didn't. "I chose what I thought was protecting you, and instead I destroyed us both. But I'm here now, Jaemin. I'm here and I'm fighting, and I'm begging you to let me make this right. Some things can't be made right. Then let me try anyway." His hand lifted again, and this time when he touched my face, I didn't pull away. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and my eyes fluttered closed despite every warning in my head. "I never stopped loving you," he whispered. "Even when I tried. Even when I knew I should. You've been carved into my bones, Jaemin. There's no cutting you out." A tear escaped, trailing down my cheek. Do-hyun caught it with his thumb, and the gentleness of the gesture shattered something inside me. "This is a mistake," I breathed. "Probably. We'll just hurt each other again. Maybe." "Do-hyun." He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to stop him. His forehead pressed against mine, breath mingling, close enough that I could feel his heartbeat racing. "Tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me you don't feel this too, and I'll never touch you again." But I couldn't. Because the truth was my Omega instincts were screaming home and mate and finally, and my broken heart was too tired to keep fighting. So instead of pushing him away, I closed the distance. The kiss was soft, achingly gentle. Nothing like the passionate encounters from 3 years ago. This was apology and promise and desperation all wrapped together. Do-hyun's hand cradled my face like I was something precious, and when we finally broke apart, his eyes were wet. "Stay," he said again. "Not just tonight. Come home. Where I can guard you both. Where my father can't reach you. I can't just move in with you." "Why not?" "Because I struggled for reasons that made sense. Because it's too fast. Too complicated. Because Minwoo needs stability, not his parents playing house." "This isn't playing." Do-hyun's voice was fierce. "This is me trying to build what we should have had. What my father stole from us." His phone buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times in rapid succession. Do-hyun's expression shifted as he read the messages, going from soft to stone in seconds. What is it? My security chief. He traced the number. Do-hyun looked up, and the fury in his eyes made me flinch. The texts came from inside my father's private office. And there's more. He's filed a motion with family court. Emergency custody hearing. Monday morning. The room tilted. He can't. He can. He's claiming I'm an unfit parent, that you're an unstable influence, and that Min-woo should be removed from both of us pending investigation. On what grounds? Do-hyun's silence was answer enough. The DNA test. The imperfect bloodline. Everything clicking into horrible place. He's really trying to take him, I whispered. Yes. Do-hyun stood, already pulling out his phone. Which means we're out of time for slow reconciliation. I need you and Min-woo here, where my lawyers can build a defense. Where you're protected 24/7. No more separate apartments. No more pretending we can co-parent at a distance. You're asking me to move in. I'm telling you that if you don't, we might lose him. Do-hyun's voice broke on the last word. My father doesn't make empty threats. If he's filed this motion, he has a plan. And our only chance is to present a united front. I looked toward the guest room where Min-woo slept, peaceful and innocent. Thought about those texts. About family court judges who'd see two young parents from different social classes and make assumptions. Okay, I said. We'll stay. The relief in Do-hyun's expression was visceral. He crossed back to me, pulling me into his arms. And this time, I let myself sink into the embrace. Let myself remember what it felt like to be held by someone who'd move heaven and earth to protect you. I won't let him take our son, Do-hyun murmured into my hair. I don't care what it costs. But as I stood there in his arms, I couldn't shake the fear coiling in my gut. Because I'd learned the hard way that sometimes the cost was everything. Yama, why are we at the park so early? Min-woo's small hand squeezed mine as we walked through the empty playground Monday morning. The custody hearing wasn't until 10, but I'd needed air. Needed to feel like the world was still normal before everything changed. I thought we could watch the sunrise together, baby. Is Appa coming? Not this time. Do-hyun was already at the courthouse with his legal team, preparing our defense. We'd spent Sunday moving essentials to his penthouse, avoiding the elephant in the room, that we might not be coming back together, that a judge might decide neither of us was fit. The sky was turning pink when I heard footsteps behind us. I spun around, pulling Min-woo behind me instinctively. A man in an expensive suit stood at the park entrance, flanked by 2 security guards. Even from a distance, I recognized the Kong family resemblance. The same sharp jaw, the same calculating eyes. Do-hyun's father, Mr. Seo. His voice was smooth, cultured. We haven't been formally introduced. I'm Kong Jin-ho. Every Omega instinct screamed danger. Stay away from us. I'm not here to threaten you. He dismissed the guards with a wave, stepping forward alone. I'm here to make you an offer. I'm not interested. You haven't heard it yet. He stopped a respectful distance away, hands visible. 10 million won. Transferred immediately to any account you specify. In exchange, you voluntarily relinquish custody of Min-woo to the Kong family. The number was obscene. More money than I'd see in a lifetime. You want me to sell my son. I want to give him the life he deserves. The best schools, the best opportunities, a future without struggle. Jin-ho's expression didn't change. You're a good father, Mr. Seo. Which is why you'll consider what's truly best for the child. What's best for him is staying with his parents. Is it? Jin-ho pulled out his phone, showing me a series of photos. My apartment building. Min-woo's school. The children's bookstore where I sometimes worked freelance. You're barely surviving. 1 medical emergency, 1 missed commission, and you're homeless. Is that what you want for him? My hands shook with rage. Get away from us. 20 million. No. 30. Final offer. Take it, and I'll ensure you have visitation rights. Refuse, and I'll make sure you lose everything in court today. He stepped closer, voice dropping. I've done my research, Mr. Seo. Unmarried Omega parent, unstable income. History of depression after the birth. My lawyers will paint you as unfit and Do-hyun as an enabler. You'll both lose him. Yama. Min-woo's voice was small, frightened. Who is that man? Before I could answer, a car screeched to a halt at the park entrance. Do-hyun burst out, still in his court suit, eyes wild. When he saw his father standing near us, something savage crossed his face. Get away from them. Jin-ho turned, unruffled. We were just having a conversation. We're leaving. Do-hyun was already moving toward us, placing himself between his father and Min-woo. Now, the hearing is in 90 minutes, Jin-ho called after us. See you in court, son. The family courthouse was cold. Sterile. Everything about it felt designed to strip away emotion and reduce lives to paperwork. Do-hyun sat beside me in the waiting room, his lawyer, a sharp woman named Park Mi-sun, reviewing documents with terrifying efficiency. The judge is known for traditional views, Mi-sun said quietly. We need to emphasize stability, commitment, and the strength of your co-parenting relationship. What about his father's threats? I asked. Circumstantial. The texts came from his office, but can't be definitively traced to him personally. She glanced at Do-hyun. We focus on what we can prove, that you're both competent, loving parents who are actively building a stable home for Min-woo. Min-woo was with a court-appointed child specialist, being interviewed. The thought of strangers asking my son questions about his home life made my stomach churn. Do-hyun's hand found mine under the table. We're going to win this. You don't know that. I know I'm not letting him take our son. His grip tightened. Whatever it takes. The courtroom doors opened. The hearing was a blur of legal terminology and character witnesses. Jin-ho's lawyers painted a picture of two young, irresponsible parents playing house. Emphasized my financial struggles, Do-hyun's lack of prior involvement, the concerning living arrangement we'd just established. Then they brought out the DNA test results. Your Honor, this analysis reveals genetic markers indicating the child has recessive omega traits, Jin-ho's lead attorney announced. In alpha bloodline families, this can indicate future complications requiring specialized care and resources beyond what the current living situation can provide. I felt Do-hyun go rigid beside me. Are you suggesting, Mi-sun cut in sharply, that a child's genetic makeup determines custody rights? I'm suggesting that the Kong family has resources specifically suited to this child's unique needs. Needs that neither parent, separately or together, can currently meet. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s, looked unimpressed. Genetic testing is not grounds for custody removal unless medical necessity is established. Do you have evidence of such necessity? A pause. Then, not at this time, Your Honor. Then I suggest you focus on relevant factors. The judge turned to us. Mr. Kong, Mr. Seo. I've reviewed the case files and conducted preliminary interviews with the child. Before I make any ruling, I'd like to hear directly from you. Mr. Seo, why should Min-woo remain in your custody? My throat went dry. Every eye in the courtroom was on me. Because he's my son, I said, voice shaking. I've been there for every nightmare, every skinned knee, every small triumph. I'm not perfect. I don't have money or connections or a fancy apartment. But I have love. And that's what he needs most. The judge nodded, then turned. Mr. Kong. Do-hyun stood, and I saw his hands trembling slightly. 3 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I let my family convince me that protecting Jaemin and Min-woo meant walking away. His voice was steady but raw. I was wrong, and I've spent every day since trying to become someone worthy of them. Someone strong enough to stand against my own family, if that's what it takes. And the sudden custody filing? The judge asked. The timing seems calculated. It was protective, Do-hyun said. My father has made it clear he intends to remove Min-woo from both of us. Filing for custody was the only way to establish legal standing to fight back. Jin-ho stood then, his lawyer trying to pull him back down. Your Honor, if I may. You may not, the judge said coolly. You're not a party to this custody arrangement, Mr. Kong. You're a witness at best. That child carries my family's bloodline. That child has 2 living, competent parents. The judge's voice cut like ice. Your preferences are noted but irrelevant to my ruling. The courtroom went silent. I'm ordering a 30-day observation period, the judge finally said. Min-woo will remain with Mr. Seo and Mr. Kong in their current living arrangement. A social worker will conduct weekly visits. At the end of 30 days, we reconvene. Her gaze swept over Jin-ho. And Mr. Kong Sr., if I hear of any interference, any threats, bribes, or contact with the child outside supervised visits, I will hold you in contempt. Are we clear? Jin-ho's jaw tightened. Crystal, Your Honor. We made it to Do-hyun's car before I broke down. Great, heaving sobs that I'd been holding back for hours, days, years. Do-hyun pulled me against his chest, his own hands shaking as he held me. We won, he murmured. We won, Jaemin. For 30 days. It's a start. It's more than we had this morning. He pulled back enough to cup my face, thumbs wiping away tears. I meant what I said in there. I'm not letting him take our son. I don't care if I have to burn the entire Kong Empire to protect you both. That's your family. Your inheritance. You're my family. The words came out fierce. You and Min-woo. Everything else is just noise. Min-woo was waiting inside with Mi-sun, clutching the dinosaur toy Do-hyun had bought him. When he saw us, his face crumpled. Are you sad? Did something bad happen? I knelt down, pulling him into my arms. No, baby. Nothing bad. Happy tears. We get to stay together? Doohyun crouched beside us. Yeah, Minwoo. We get to stay together. Our son looked between us, then threw his small arms around both our necks, pulling us into an awkward three-way embrace. Over his head, Doohyun's eyes met mine. And for the first time in 3 years, I saw something other than regret there. Hope. That night, after Minwoo was asleep, Doohyun and I stood on his penthouse balcony. The city sprawled below us, millions of lights in the darkness. I got a message from my father's assistant, Doohyun said quietly. He wants to meet. To discuss terms. Terms for what? My resignation from the company, probably. An agreement to stay away from family business in exchange for leaving us alone. He turned to me. I'm going to take it. Doohyun, that's your entire career. It's a job. He stepped closer, and the city lights reflected in his eyes. I can get another job. I can't get another you. Another chance with Minwoo. His hand found mine on the railing. I've been building my own portfolio on the side for 2 years. Waiting for the moment I could finally cut ties. This is it. You'd give up everything for us. I'd give up everything to keep you. He turned fully, both hands framing my face now. 3 years ago, I chose wrong. I let fear decide. But I'm choosing now, Jaemin. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing the family we could be. The vulnerability in his voice shattered my last defenses. I'm terrified, I whispered. Terrified of trusting you again. Of believing this is real. Then let me prove it. Doohyun's forehead pressed against mine. Every single day. For as long as you'll let me. What if your father doesn't stop? What if? Then we fight. Together. His voice dropped lower, intimate. Come home, Jaemin. Not to this apartment. Not to any place. Just to me. The way you used to. The way I never stopped hoping you would. The title words, spoken in the parking lot weeks ago with confidence, now trembled with desperate need. And I realized something. He'd never let me go. Not really. Even when I'd walked away, even when he'd forced me to leave, some invisible thread had kept us bound. The bond we'd formed wasn't something that could be severed by distance or time or even betrayal. I never really left, I admitted. Part of me has been waiting for you to fight for us. To prove that what we had was worth the war. It was. It is. Doohyun's hands slid down to my waist, pulling me closer. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if that's what it takes. Have you ever loved again after loss? Share your story in the comments. I kissed him then, not soft and tentative like before, but certain. A promise and a claiming all at once. Doohyun responded with a desperate sound, arms wrapping around me like he was afraid I'd disappear. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he whispered against my lips. Stay. Please. I am staying, I said. For 30 days, remember? No. His eyes bore into mine. Stay forever. Marry me. Build this life with me. Let me be what I should have been 3 years ago. Doohyun. I know it's fast. I know we have healing to do. But I also know I don't want to waste another day pretending I can live without you. He kissed me again, softer. Think about it. That's all I ask. Inside, Minwoo stirred in his sleep, calling out. We both moved instinctively toward the sound, 2 parents responding to their child's need. In the doorway of the guest room, we stood shoulder to shoulder, watching our son settle back into dreams. He asked me today, Doohyun murmured, if you and I were going to be a real family, like his friend's parents. What did you tell him? That I hoped so. That I was going to try my hardest to make it happen. He glanced at me. Was that okay? Instead of answering, I took his hand. Led him back to the living room. Pulled something from my bag that I'd been carrying since the hearing. A small velvet box. Doohyun's eyes widened. Jaemin, you're not the only one who kept something, I said quietly. 3 years ago, before everything fell apart, you bought this. I found it in your apartment when I was packing to leave. Couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Inside was a simple silver band. An Omega's bonding ring. Doohyun's hands shook as he took the box. You kept it. I kept it because some part of me always believed you'd come back. That we'd find our way home to each other. I met his eyes. I'm not saying yes to marriage. Not yet. But I am saying yes to trying. To building something real this time. That's all I need. Doohyun slipped the ring onto my finger, still a perfect fit after 3 years. I'll earn the rest. We stood there in his penthouse, the city glittering below, our son sleeping safe in the next room. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. We had a social worker coming, a 30-day trial, a family that wouldn't easily accept defeat. But for the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. And as Doohyun pulled me close, his scent wrapping around me like coming home, I realized the truth. Some bonds couldn't be broken, even when you tried. Some people carved themselves so deeply into your soul that removing them would mean removing part of yourself. Do Hyun had always owned me, not through force or control, but through the simple fact that my heart had chosen him long before my mind could object. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. Come home, he whispered one more time, broken and raw and real. This time, I didn't hesitate. I already am.